World News coming to you live from Algiers with me, Mariam Zian, to the headlines. Ahead of the 7th prisoner exchange, Hamas accuses Israel of stalling the ceasefire's second phase, denies claims about Biba's body, and Al-Qassam names 6 prisoners set for release on Saturday. Morocco expels a European parliamentary delegation from the occupied Sahrawi territories, sparking condemnation and calls for an EU response. Also tonight at the G20 meeting, Algeria backs South Africa's priorities, urges financial reforms and debt relief for Africa, while Spain supports Algeria's role in Sahel stability. And the Kremlin reports no details on a Putin-Trump meeting. U.S. Secretary of State Rubio links it to progress in ending the Ukraine war, as Zelensky calls his talks with Trump's envoy hopeful. Hello and welcome to the details of our program. First in our news file, the Palestinian Islamic resistance movement Hamas said that Netanyahu is procrastinating regarding the second phase of the ceasefire agreement. Hamas spokesperson Abdul Latif al-Qanoua confirmed in a statement that the movement is waiting for the Zionist occupation to fully implement the provisions of the Humanitarian Protocol, noting that the movement is ready to complete the execution of the agreement in all its phases to achieve its demands.
Netanyahu is procrastinating regarding the second phase of the ceasefire agreement, and we are waiting for the Zionist occupation to fully implement the provisions of the Humanitarian Protocol. We are ready to complete the execution of the agreement in all its phases to achieve our demands. The criminal Zionist occupation has used internationally banned weapons against our people and is demanding the disarmament of our legitimate resistance. Therefore, we call for the formation of international committees to investigate the Zionist occupation's use of banned weapons.
Hamas confirmed that it has shown the utmost flexibility in formulating political and administrative approaches for managing the Gaza Strip after the war of genocide.
We have shown the utmost flexibility in formulating political and administrative approaches for managing the Gaza Strip during the various dialogues, especially with Egypt. Hamas will continue to place the supreme interest of the Palestinian people at the core of all its decisions related to the situation in the Gaza Strip after the war, within the framework of national consensus and away from any interventions by the occupation or the United States.
Hamas refuted the Israeli claim that the body of detainee Shiri Bibas, which it handed over, did not match DNA tests, affirming that it has no interest in retaining bodies. In a statement on Friday, Hamas confirmed it would seriously investigate the claims and announced the results, suggesting the possibility of bodies being mixed with other Palestinians who were at the bombing site. The Al-Qassam brigades announced that it would release 6 Israeli detainees on Saturday. Abu Ubaida, the military spokesperson for the Al-Qassam brigades, revealed on Telegram the names of 6 Israeli detainees who will be released as part of a new batch in the first phase of the ceasefire agreement in Gaza. And the Israeli authorities are expected to release 602 Palestinian prisoners on Saturday as part of the 8th batch of the exchange deal in the Gaza Strip. A statement from the Prisoners' Information Office clarified that among the Palestinian prisoners to be released are 57 life sentences, 60 with high sentences, 47 who were rearrested, and 445 from Gaza who were detained after October 7th. The mayor of the city of Rafah, Ahmed al-Soufi, confirmed on Friday that 32 Palestinians have been killed since the start of the truce, adding that 60% of the city is under the control of the Zionist occupation forces. Al-Soufi said that the entry of 15 mobile homes via 5 trucks is a drop in the ocean compared to the needs of the Strip, adding that the specialized institutions and bodies are not fulfilling their role towards the city's residents, while calling for their relief. Palestinian lawyer at the Al-Mazen Center for Human Rights in Gaza, Samir Al-Manhama, warned on Friday of the deteriorating health status of the director of Kamal Adwan Hospital, Dr. Hussam Abu Safiya, after he was tortured and denied treatment by the Zionist occupation forces. Speaking to Al-24 News Channel, Al-Manhama said that Abu Safiya was beaten with batons and subjected to electric shocks by Zionist interrogators, in addition to being put in a solitary cell for 25 days.
As lawyers at the Al-Mizan Center of Human Rights and representatives of Brother Hussam, we were allowed to visit him after 27 days, and we found out that he was suffering from cardiac atrophy and high blood pressure. The occupation authorities prevented him from getting adequate treatment and subjected him to interrogation and torture. Dr. Hussam stated that he has been beaten by the interrogators with batons and electric shocks. Besides, he was put in a cell for 25 days. We fear for his life, and we hope that he would be released as part of the swap deal next Saturday, as all media are reporting, but haven't been officially informed.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called for irreversible progress towards a two-state solution and a ceasefire in Gaza. In a televised address to the 19th plenary session of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Mediterranean held in Rome last night, Guterres stated that the region was being reshaped, but it was not clear what would emerge, as it would be our responsibility to help ensure that the people of the Middle East emerge with peace, dignity, and a horizon of hope grounded in action.
As you know so well, the Middle East is in a period of profound transformation, rife with uncertainty, but also possibility. It is clear the region is being reshaped, but it's not clear what will emerge. We have a responsibility to help make sure the people of the Middle East come out with peace, dignity, and a horizon of hope grounded in action. In Gaza, that means, as we have long been calling for, the release of all hostages, a permanent ceasefire, and irreversible progress towards a two-state solution.
The International Court of Justice has granted the African Union permission to participate in advisory proceedings concerning the obligations of the occupation in relation to UN activities in the Palestinian territories, following a request from the Union. In a statement, the court announced that based on Article 66 of the statute, acting president of the court, Judge Julia Sebutind, determined that the African Union is likely to provide relevant information regarding the written questions submitted by the General Assembly to the court. Moroccan occupation authorities barred a European parliamentary delegation from entering the occupied city of La'youn. Leaders of Spain's Podemos party stated that Moroccan authorities detained the delegation at La'youn airport, preventing them from entering the occupied territory.
We were chosen to protect and act for human rights and the enforcement of international law. During our mission, we attempted to enter occupied La'youn, but we were denied entry. Not only that, but no justification was provided, nor was it clarified who made this decision. Instead, we were immediately forced to leave, put on a plane, and deported.
The Finnish member of parliament who was barred by Moroccan occupation authorities from entering La'youn alongside other European Parliament members has called on the EU for a firm and clear response to Morocco's actions. In an interview with Helsinki Times, the Finnish lawmaker condemned Morocco's move as unacceptable, accusing it of trying to conceal its crimes and violations. He added that the delegation had planned meetings with the UN mission for referendum in Western Sahara and the Sahrawi human rights group CODESA and the families of political prisoners.
This is unacceptable behavior from a country that cooperates with the European Union. Morocco prevents members of the European Parliament from accessing the territories it illegally occupies, while refusing to provide any legal justification. Clearly, They don't want us to witness the human rights violations taking place there.
The Finnish Member of Parliament condemned the actions of the Moroccan occupation authorities, calling them illegal and aimed at concealing Morocco's crimes against the Sahrawis in the occupied territories.
We need answers. The European Union must demand an explanation from Morocco. It is unacceptable for Morocco to continue enjoying good trade relations with the EU while behaving this way. Europe must end its double standards and truly stands for international law. If we claim to defend human rights, we must treat all illegal occupations with the same seriousness.
The Polisario Front strongly condemned Morocco's expulsion of a European Parliament delegation and its denial of entry to La'youn, calling it a blatant violation of the law and an attempt to conceal the crimes committed against Sahrawis. In a statement, the Polisario Front stressed that this act highlights Morocco's aggressive policy against journalists and observers seeking to visit the occupied territories and assess the situation on the ground. It described the move as an effort to hide grave human rights violations against unarmed Sahrawis.
We don't know any documents.
We condemn Morocco's expulsion of European parliamentarians and its refusal to allow them entry into occupied La'youn. We consider this a violation of the law and an attempt to conceal the crimes committed by the occupation against the Sahrawi people. This action highlights Morocco's aggressive policy against journalists and observers seeking to visit the occupied territories and assess the situation on the ground. We call on the EU institutions to file an official complaint with the Moroccan government regarding this incident and to take the necessary measures to ensure respect for the rights and work of EU representatives.
The Sahrawi Human Rights Committee condemned Morocco's expulsion of a European parliamentary delegation. In a statement issued on Friday, the committee expressed full solidarity with the expelled delegation and announced the unjust decision to deny them entry to the occupied Sahrawi territories. It described Morocco as a rogue state that continues to violate international law by expelling international observers to conceal its repressive practices against the Sahrawi people.
We express our full solidarity with the members of the European Parliamentary Delegation and strongly condemn the unjust decision to deny them entry into the occupied territories of the Sahrawi Republic. The occupying state of Morocco continues, without accountability, to expel international observers and prevent them from visiting the occupied territories. Meanwhile, the occupation's suppressive policies persist against Sahrawi citizens who demand freedom, dignity, and their right to life and independence.
The new UN envoy to Libya, Humanitarian, pledged to continue working tirelessly to support Libyan institutions and enable them to hold inclusive national elections. The new UN envoy acknowledged that her mission will not be easy, but expressed her confidence that working with everyone will make it possible, stressing that the United Nations will remain firmly committed to supporting Libya, pledging to work with Libyans and the international community to achieve this goal.
Under my leadership, UNSMIL will continue to work tirelessly to support and enable Libyan institutions to hold inclusive national elections and forge a collective national vision to address Libya's long-standing challenges. This will not be easy, but working together, it can be possible. And I will leave no stone unturned in the pursuit of peace and stability for Libya and the Libyan people.
Humanitarian also stressed in her first meeting with a Libyan official that the United Nations will remain firmly committed to supporting Libya, pledging to work within the Libyans and the international community to achieve the goal.
The United Nations remains steadfastly committed to supporting a prosperous, stable, and democratic Libya, a Libya that serves all its people and provides them with opportunity, and a country that takes its place as a confident actor on the global stage. I commit to working with the people of Libya and the international community, with my colleagues in the United Nations, to achieve that goal.
And Algeria has reaffirmed its support for South African President Cyril Ramaphosa's priorities during his country's G20 presidency. Speaking at the G20 ministerial meeting, Algerian Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf praised Ramaphosa's focus on Africa's needs and called for serious action to address the continent's challenges. Algerian Minister of State and Foreign Minister Mr. Ahmed Attaf said reforming international financial institutions and tackling Africa's debt crisis must be top priorities. He stressed that these steps are essential to support the continent's development.
Regard three endeavors that are, in my view, of strategic dimension and nature deserve our full attention. The first among them is that of reforming the international financial and monetary institutions. We need institutions that are representative of today's world and which can respond timely and efficiently to the variety of challenges affecting developing nations, notably African nations. The second among these strategic endeavors relates to the urgent need to address Africa's debt crisis to meet its development requirements. Africa needs the strong support of the G20 in this regard to navigate through the compounding crisis of financial distress, climate change, food insecurity, and persistent conflicts. And may I add that Africa should not be left behind the ongoing revolutions that are reshaping the future of mankind in energy transition, numerization, and in artificial intelligence.
Minister Attaf called for honoring international commitments to Africa. He welcomed South Africa's initiative to launch 3 working groups on inclusive economic growth, food security, and artificial intelligence.
Third and last among these strategic endeavors is related to the pressing imperative of fulfilling international commitments in terms of promoting financial support, partnerships, capacity building, and technology transfer to accelerate the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals and the Agenda 2063 aspiration. In this regard, Algeria welcomes the initiative of South Africa to establish 3 task forces dealing respectively with inclusive economic growth, food security, and artificial intelligence. We believe that such an initiative holds the potential of creating a new momentum in dealing with global pressing issues and challenges. We equally believe that such an initiative will give more substance, ensure more effectiveness, and render more meaningful the international cooperation for global development.
On the sidelines of the second day of the G20 ministerial meeting in Johannesburg, Algerian Minister of State and Foreign Affairs Ahmed Attaf held bilateral talks with Spanish Minister of Foreign Affairs, European Union and Cooperation, José Manuel Alvarez. According to a statement from the Algerian ministry, the Spanish minister reiterated his gratitude to the Algerian authorities for their effective role in the release of Spanish citizen Navarro Joaquim last January and affirmed his country's support for Algeria's role in promoting stability and advancing development in the Sahel region. Algerian Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf and his Spanish counterpart discussed ways to enhance bilateral relations by fostering mutual trust and expanding cooperation. They also exchanged views on the latest developments in the Palestinian issue and stressed the need to continue international efforts to achieve a just and lasting solution to the Middle East conflict based on a 2-state solution. Also on the sidelines of the G20 ministerial meeting in Johannesburg, Algerian Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf held talks with his counterparts from China, Turkey, India, Norway, South Korea, and Japan focusing on strengthening strategic partnerships and enhancing economic cooperation. Discussions covered bilateral relations, joint committee preparations, and international coordination, including mutual support in the UN Security Council. The meeting also addressed regional issues, particularly developments in the Middle East and the Palestinian issue, with an emphasis on supporting the two-state solution. Burundi is facing a rapidly worsening humanitarian situation as more than 40,000 people have fled there in 2 weeks to escape fighting in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Marwa Balawar has more details on the topic.
Burundi is grappling with a rapidly worsening humanitarian crisis as escalating violence in the Democratic Republic of Congo has driven approximately 42,000 people, mostly women and children, to seek refuge in the country within just 2 weeks. The UN High Commissioner for Refugees described the influx as the largest wave of Congolese refugees to Burundi in 25 years, driven by the advance of the M23 rebel group in eastern DRC.
The escalating situation, security situation in the DRC has been having a serious impact on the Burundi side. Over the past few weeks, we have observed a large number of people, of Congolese, who have been crossing into Burundi. Just for the first 2 weeks, we have received more than 36,000 in Rugombo, which is the border I mentioned, and 6,000 currently at the transit center close to Bujumbura, which makes it around 42,000 people already seeking asylum.
According to UN reports, another 15,000 people have fled to neighboring countries beyond Burundi since January, including more than 13,000 to Uganda. Most of the refugees entering Burundi previously sought refuge through unofficial crossing points, with many making the dangerous journey across the Rusizi River.
To respond to this worsening emergency, UNHCR is seeking $40.4 million to strengthen preparedness and deliver life-saving protection and assistance to 275,000 internally displaced people in South Kivu, North Kivu, Maniema, and Tanganyika provinces of the DRC, as well as to support a potential influx of 258,000 refugees, asylum seekers, and returnees in neighboring countries, including Burundi, Rwanda, Tanzania, Uganda, and Zambia.
UN High Commissioner for Refugees expects the larger numbers of refugees in Burundi as M23 fighters continue their military advancement to Uvira, which is considered a key border town near Burundi's main official crossing with the DR Congo.
The Kremlin announced on Friday that there was a mutual understanding about the need for a meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin, but the details of such an encounter had yet to be worked out. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Russia was ready to achieve the goals related to its national interests and security through peaceful negotiations. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Thursday his talks with U.S. envoy Keith Kellogg restore hope in terms of achieving an agreement with Washington. Zelensky also mentioned that he spoke with France President Emmanuel Macron and shared views on security guarantees regarding the next steps in the latest diplomatic efforts on the end of the war with Russia. And Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi told his counterparts in the G20 that a window for peace is opening in Ukraine. These remarks by the Chinese Foreign Minister came days after a meeting between senior Russian and US officials in Riyadh. Wang Yi stated that China has noticed that calls for peace talks have recently increased and a window for peace is opening. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for tonight's program. Thank you for watching. Have a great night.